you about my April reading plans. I do have just a few books on the docket, so not as elaborate of a TBR as far as that goes. And I'm going to tell you about kind of the big reading plans I have other than that. So let's get those out of the way. The first is Emily Dickinson's Letters. This is the next pick for the Fierce Women Reads book club that I host along with Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf and Melina from Melina Reads. And I'm really looking forward to this, especially that it's in letter format. I think will be really lovely to kind of sit down with each day and see what letters are in that day's selections. And then for the Literary Parlor Book Club, which is a Victorian book club that I host through the Ebenezer Maxwell Mansion, we are going to be reading The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I did not love this book the first time around. I'm not going to lie. And whenever I hear people talk about it and say what they love about it, it's kind of the women's history angle, which, yes, granted, it is really fascinating for that. But I'm kind of like, what else is there to it? Like, why else should I love it? Because that, to me, a book can have that, but then more heaped onto that. Like, I feel like it just seems kind of hard-hitting, like it should have been an essay instead of a novel. If that makes sense, I hope I conveyed that well. So honestly, I'm not really looking forward to this, but I asked people for suggestions for what we should read, and one of the lovely attendees who has just been a regular for years has asked for a while if we could read The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. So we will be reading The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, and maybe I'll like it more the second time around. And next is Out to Canaan by Jan Karon. This is the fourth in the Mitford series, and good gracious, am I having fun with this project that I am hosting with Chelsea from Voyage of a Time Wanderer, and Angie from Literary Labors, and Rainey from Rainy Day Reads. And at the end of each month, we have been cooking something and meeting on Zoom, and then we post our discussion on one of the channels. And this month, it will go on Chelsea's channel on the last day of March. So then the April one will go on Angie's channel on the last day of April. And we're having a lot of fun. Okay, then on to the bigger April reading plans. That all seems very manageable. I've declared, and I did this last year, not all that successfully, and then I did it, I think I just did a week of this a couple years ago, but I'm dedicating the entire month of April to spring cleaning reading. And so that is just kind of trying to get organized and trying to whittle down the currently reading folder that I currently have close to 30 books on. I think I'm below 30 now. You know, it changes whenever I finish books, and it's pushing 30 books in my currently reading folder on Goodreads, and it is really stressing me out. So I will not be doing this alone. I am joined by Taylor from The Babbling Bee, and we have created incentives for ourselves to motivate us to get through this project. Now, I do kind of have two mindsets. One is I should do the like Dave Ramsey snowball approach and work on the smallest ones first. But then I also think maybe I should just do the big ones first and really feel accomplished early on in the month. But now, as soon as I'm saying that, I think I'm going to do the snowball approach. So work on the littlest books first and build momentum. Okay, so I have my chart here with what my rewards are going to be. So the first thing says, for each book I finish, I get one K-drama episode. So if I finish, close to 30 books, that's 2 K-dramas, although the one I'm watching right now, Warang, is like 24 episodes, so I would finish Warang by the end of the month. Okay, then 2, for each 2 books I finish, I get a magazine. So I do have a subscription to Victorian Magazine, Southern Living, and Better Homes and Gardens. And I have been pilfering away those magazines and not letting myself look at them. It has been very tempting because they're all so beautiful. But I love the idea of just sitting with a magazine when I'm my brain is too tired to do regular book reading. I want to indulge in more magazines. So if I finish 2 books, I get a magazine. Then the third one is, for each 3 books I finish, I get a book bath, which is incredibly exciting because I love a good book bath. I do need to get some bath bombs, so I do need to get organized for that. Then the fourth one is, for each 5 books I finish, I get a frivolous read. More on the frivolous reads later. but kind of we're talking like historical romances, middle grade, mysteries, YA fantasy, that kind of a thing. And I don't mean frivolous as an insult. It's a category of books that I've been enjoying this year. And the fifth rule is if I finish 20 books, so this is like a big reward. If I finish 20 books, I get to read the next in the Seven Waters trilogy. So this was the first one, blew my mind. I like can't handle how much I love this book. And the next one is called Son of the Shadows. So I have to finish 20 books to get to Son of the Shadows, which I'm going to check out from the library. And then lastly, Taylor and I will end the month with a Zoom discussion and a treat of our choosing. So not a live Zoom discussion, just Taylor and I are going to hang out on Zoom. And I think I want my treat to be Oreo truffles. I think I made some of those at Christmas and they were just ridiculous with how good they are. Okay, I thought I would fill you in on what all is on my currently reading folder on Goodreads. Oh boy. Okay, firstly, the Sur La Lune collection of Cinderella fairy tales. This has over 345 Cinderella fairy tales. I'm going to do a very in-depth review of this book when I finish. I think I want to try to get through like the first big section, which would get me a good chunk of the way. I think like over halfway through the book. It's still divided up into different categories of Cinderella tales. And the first one is just the Cinderella category. Then there's the donkey skin category. And then I can't remember the names of the other two. But if I just finished the Cinderella category, I would be very excited. So not finishing that one. But then The Child's Garden of Verse by Robert Louis Stevenson started this in Victober. And here it is. And you're going to sense a Victober theme here. Confessions by Augustine. I started this long time ago, over a year ago. And I would love to get that knocked off the list. The Fellowship of the Ring. I had all intentions last year of reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And when I got into a reading slump when like pandemic began in March, I should have just buckled down and listened to those audiobooks because they are so immersive. I think I would have really enjoyed them. Finishing at least the Fellowship of the Ring. I would love by the end of 2021 to finish my reread of the Lord of the Rings. Then halfway through the 7th Harry Potter book, just sitting there, I think I didn't realize how kind of slow going that book is for a lot of it. And I was not prepared for that. Then Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This is the third in the Nevermore series. I think it's called the Nevermore series or the Morrigan Crow series. Need to finish that. That one will be really easy to finish. 2 Victober leftovers, 2 more. 2 on a Tower by Thomas Hardy. I have the audiobook for this. We're going to see how I feel about it. I don't know how up I am for like super sad Thomas Hardy. We shall see. And then The Wrong Box by Robert Louis Stevenson. I was enjoying this. I just burned out on Victorian literature. That's why I did not finish it. A Month in the Country. I read the first like 10 pages of this like 2 years ago. So I want to finish that. And then I'm tired of this one lingering. The Virago book of Victorian ghost stories. I read about 5 of them aloud on my channel last year during April, I think it was. And I would like to finish this collection because I really enjoyed the ones that I read. So that should be finished. Then The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. This is a Puritan classic, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. And so I think, there obviously were some issues with Puritan communities and not everything I would endorse, but I do also think they're painted in a very unnuanced way. And if you read Puritan literature, it is really beautiful. Then A Mind to Murder by P.D. James. I was really enjoying this Dalgleish book, but it was right before Victober, and we know how that like messes with my reading brain. I didn't finish it. I don't have much left. I can still very vividly remember the rest of the book, so I'm just going to pick up, I think it's like the last 50 pages I have to finish. Playing for the Ashes. This is the next Linley mystery. I started last year, and I really loved every single bit that I read. So I'm really excited for that one to continue. It's highly, highly psychological mystery series. And then the Wheel of Time 13th book, The Towers of Midnight, that Doris and I are doing a very loosey-goosey read-along buddy read of. And I started The Towers of Midnight in February, got the audiobook, and I did the prologue, which the prologues are incredibly long, and I am always bored by the prologues. So I got through the prologue, and then my audiobook expired, and I would have to wait 5 months to get the next audiobook. But I was talking with my husband about it, and he says, I think you owe it to yourself as a reader for the last 2 books to read physical copies of it because the payoff is so big and you want to really be immersed. So I think I agree with him. I went ahead and I'll pick up from the library this weekend, Towers of Midnight. So I'm actually very excited about that. I think with that one, I'll read, 1 or 2 chapters a day to get through it over the course of the month. But I really do have to kind of pace myself with Wheel of Time books. I kind of am jealous of those people that just read exclusively Wheel of Time for like a year and get through the series. But I know I just would not enjoy that. I just need more variety in my reading. But I am jealous because you get a more immersive reading experience that way, as opposed to if you're doing a lot of reading at the same time like I am. There's just so much world building. It's really hard to keep track of all the information. Then Gerard Manley Hopkins poems. Several of these have brought me to tears. I know he is very well loved by Catholic readers. He just has some very beautiful religious poetry, incredibly beautiful and poignant. And for people to say that Christian writing can't be intelligent, just read Gerard Manley Hopkins because you're wrong. Then Spiritual Depression, which is a collection of sermons by Martyn Lloyd-Jones. I am going through a season of spiritual depression, and it is rough. It is not fun, but I find this collection incredibly encouraging, and it is just the most just loving collection of sermons. So I'm really looking forward to continuing through this collection. All of these sermons are available like on Spotify. You can find them all. But the audio quality is so bad on some of them, and he has a very like old-fashioned kind of proper accent and a Welsh accent on top of that. So it is hard to understand him, and too hard in some of them. So I read the physical copy for that, but if the audio quality is good, then I listen to the sermon. Then Anne's House of Dreams. I'm hoping to be finished with that by the end of March, but we will see. And then Heaven to Betsy / Betsy in Spite of Herself. This will not feel at all like homework. I just love this series. So I'm looking forward to continuing on with that. And then Greenery Street, which is the next one in my TBR stack that I'm really, really enjoying. So in the month of April, I want to also make progress on my TBR stack and my Cinderella Chronicles project. Those are my 2 other projects I'm making time for in that month. And then lastly, Princess of Glass by Jessica Day George. She is a middle grade author, and this is her Cinderella retelling. I'm not loving it, so it might end up being a DNF. I am very freely going to DNF anything that I know I'm just not meant to read right now that isn't working for me. I will be doing that. And then, like I said, the frivolous reads include middle grade books, Regency historical romances, just other historical romances, fairy tale retellings, cozy mysteries, Lucinda Riley audiobooks. Let's see what else. I think those are all the categories. I covered them. Oh, and I do have Daughter of Smoke and Bone on the list, which is a YA fantasy, the first in a YA fantasy series I've been wanting to try forever. So we'll see if I do. Those are my April spring cleaning reading plans. I would just love to tidy up my currently reading folder on Goodreads because, you can have as many as you want on there. Like there's no currently reading police that are going to talk to you about what are you doing with your life, but it's stressing me out. So it's hindering my enjoyment of reading. So that is why I want to get it more under control. So thank you as always for watching. Let me know if you are going to be doing any spring cleaning in the month of April. and maybe choosing some rewards for yourself. And thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.